Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and it's Women's History Month, and I'm here today to talk to you about The Worst Witch, the 1998 television series. So this TV series ran from 1998 to 2001, and it lasted for 3 seasons. This is based off of novels of books. I remember I watched this particular series just a few years ago. And it's a very fun, pleasant show about a young girl who's a klutz who realizes she's a witch and has to learn how to be witch at this witch type school. And it's really difficult for her to navigate through because she's unfamiliar with this world, and thus she is dubbed the worst witch. I had no idea this series even existed back in the late 90s and stuff. This is a British show that is a hybrid of a British and a Canadian show. When I watched this years ago, I didn't even realize that. But as I rewatched it, because I rewatched it last month, and I started seeing something say Canada YTV. I'm like, wait a minute, that's that Canadian kids television network and stuff. Basically, YTV is like the equivalent of say Nickelodeon or Disney Channel or Fox Kids and stuff, right? And so my family didn't get cable until around 2000 or 2001. So by that time, this series would have ended by then. And so I just never even heard of it. I'm not even sure if it even ran in the United States. I'm pretty sure it did. Cause it was shown to so many countries and stuff. Now, when it comes to this series, when I first watched it, I watched it on YouTube, and it's actually still on YouTube till this day. Uploaded illegally and stuff, but you can watch it legally on either Amazon Prime, Freevee, or as I did last month on Tubi, and it's available on DVD, and it's available in the United States on DVD. That's a great thing because most British television shows aren't. But here's the craziest thing that I now just realized. As I was rewatching last month on Tubi, I noticed that the second season sounds very different. For some bizarre reason, and I don't know why, at least so far in the second season, everybody's voice is redubbed for some bizarre, uncanny reason, except for Mrs. Heartbroom and kinda Mrs. Cakle. Everybody is giving a North American Western accent for some bizarre reason. I don't know if it's an American accent or a Canadian one, because like I said before, this is technically a considered Canadian show also, even though it's also a British show. But for some reason, they just redubbed everybody's voice, and it's very jarring and stuff. I don't like it. Now, the actress who plays Miss Cakle, she's actually Canadian born, but I believe she moved over to England when she was 9. So she can do both a Western and a European English accent. And she redubbed her lines as well. But for some reason, they just didn't do Mrs. Heartbroom. Until this day, nobody knows why they redubbed it and stuff. And the craziest thing is that this dubbing is really good. It matches their lip synchronization very well, except for 2 episodes it doesn't. And it's almost the point where if you've never seen this show before, if you never knew it was a British show, you would never know it's been redubbed. That's how good the lip synchronization is to this. I don't know if it was actually brand new people who redubbed this, or if they just put it through a machine somehow and like made it sound like, westernized or something like that. I mean, in today's technology, hey, you just don't know. But this happened a few years ago and stuff. But then again, AI was around, we just didn't really know it at that time. And so, still, like I said, it's never been explained. Now, on the DVD, apparently, we had like the Australian version. They have the Western dub, but they also have the original European dub. So you can switch back through like the menu to whichever voice you want to hear. It's just one of those things that baffles me. And it just feels so off when you watch it and stuff. And sadly, that's the way you have to watch it if you watch it on Amazon Freevee or Tubi. But if you watch it on YouTube, they still have the original European dub. Maybe they thought some of the accents were a little too thick and some people couldn't understand them. I did have that problem in the first season. It's just, if you're not really, I mean, even if you are used to hearing a British voice, sometimes some people accents can be very thick, and especially when they talk very quickly. So maybe some people just couldn't understand them, so they just decided, hey, let's redub it. But then in the third season, they also redubbed, I believe, a couple of episodes. But then in one episode, the audio is completely off and missing and stuff. I don't get it. But anyways, so this show, it's funny because, like I said before, I never heard of this show, right? I literally did not hear of this show until 2017. Why? Because of the Netflix reboot. The Netflix reboot happens to be my personal favorite version of The Worst Witch. There are actually a couple of adaptations and stuff, always being adapted on television, but never the big screen. And so this is my personal favorite. It's the one I first watched. I love how in this series it still adapts the books, but they tweak them around. But then they also do their own thing, and it tends to go in a more darker direction, which I appreciate and stuff. I mean, you kind of have to, I mean, the Worst Witch books were written in 1974. So, like, that's like 50 something, 60 years. And so it's just kind of like, well, actually, it ain't that long. It's about like 50 something years. You kind of have to change things up a little bit to meet the more modern times. You know what I'm saying? And so they had, and plus also because of Harry Potter. Because of Harry Potter, they had to like enhance the storytelling to try to compete and everything, And I appreciate that because I do like how darker it gets. It's still a kid's show. So it's going to be dark on a kid's level, but they do get very edgy and stuff. But I remember when I was watching the 2017, series with all its updated clothes, updated set pieces, updated CGI and everything, updated like story tones, I'm all kind of like, I was getting mad. I'm like, they ripped off Harry Potter. Like when you watch it, it's uncanny resemblance. But then what I did not realize until I did research was it was Harry Potter that actually ripped off The Worst Witch. The Harry Potter series came out about, a decade and a half, maybe two, after The Worst Witch was written. Yes, transphobic author, that of J.K. Molding Rowley and everything, ripped off Jill Murphy's The Worst Witch. And I mean, it is literally a ripoff. She claims it's an homage, but it's too much of a similarity. It's even to the point to where the author Jill herself, hated being compared to like Harry Potter. It used to like irritate her and stuff because people's all like, "Did you know that they do this and they do that and this person's similar to this person?" She just did not like hearing that and stuff. And even the actress in the 1998 series who played Mildred, she's not a fan of Harry Potter. She stated in an interview a couple of years ago, she read the first book and she saw the first movie, but she just couldn't get into it because of how similar it was to her show. And that started to bug her and everything, especially when they will like ride on their brooms and she's all like, "They're riding their brooms wrong. Like, you're not supposed to ride it that way. You're supposed to ride it the way we did," and stuff like that. So she couldn't get into it because she clearly saw what everybody else saw at that time, that it was a blatant ripoff and stuff. How much of a ripoff is it? Well, both the protagonists, aka the heroes, Harry and Mildred, they come from non-magical guardians and stuff. Harry lives with his uncle and aunt. Mildred lives with her mom, and they have no idea that they are magical and stuff. They both later go to schools for like people with magical abilities and stuff. Mildred witches, Harry wizards and witches and stuff. They both aren't very good at what they do at first, but then later learns to like excel at it. They have a best friend who's like really smart, and then they also have a best friend who's a little bit more like risky taking, jubilant, a prankster type person, lazy and stuff like that. Both them and their best friend happen to have the same hairstyle. They both have an antagonist, a nemesis at school, who comes from a privileged background and has blonde hair. However, in the 1998 series, she has brown hair, but their antagonists both have like blonde hair and stuff. Their potions master teacher wears all black, has black hair, and really, really, really does not like the main protagonist. The person who runs the magical school, which by the way, the magical school happens to look like a castle. They wear school uniforms and stuff. The person who runs it is an old, sweet, kind, gentle spoken type person. However, in the 1998 series in season 1, she's a bit more grouchy and a little bit more loud. But then just like in the Harry Potter series, when Michael Gambon took over, he was more loud and grouchy and stuff. Let's see. There's this kooky teacher with glasses that in the 1998 series, she reads like tea leaves one time, and of course in Harry Potter, that one teacher does divinations and have premonitions and stuff. You have like this kind of like athletic, short-haired, PE type teacher and stuff like that. I'm trying to think also like the protagonist also like saves the school and sometimes end up saving the world, you know what I'm saying? The antagonist happens to like have like a best friend who's really mean and hateful. There's a bunch of other coincidences and stuff, like flying on brooms and just like all kind of like other little things. And it's just like, there are way too many similarities, but then there are also enough differences to make it like different. And of course, the Harry Potter series is a heck of a lot more darker and stuff like that. And the Harry Potter books, they expand its lore a heck of a lot more to where it's really like, death defying and gripping and sorrow, because the Harry Potter books are more for a mature audience, even though it started off for kids. But it's a heck of a lot more darker, whereas The Worst Witch is a lot more lighter in tone and, stuff like that. But it's just uncanny how much she like ripped off from like, The Worst Witch. And it's just like crazy, man. And I just never knew that. And a lot of other people never knew that. Because a lot of people just never heard of The Worst Witch, especially if they were like American and stuff. And the Harry Potter books, there are so many of them. And there's so much money to be made off the merch and the movies. And now this new not Amazon, but HBO Max television series. There's so much merch and toys, clothes, wands, and you never see that with The Worst Witch. You never see merch, because for the most part, there aren't that many like merchandisable type stuff. Like maybe the outfits, yeah. The brooms are generic, but there are no wands. They do all the spells by like hand and like, chants and stuff like that. But there's not enough like merchandise that comes from The Worst Witch that can be like sold and make into a huge thing. Also, The Worst Witch has never been theatrical. They did have a TV movie, and that came out about 1986, I believe. And it had a Mildred Hubble, who was played by an American. I can't pronounce the actress name, but she went on to play in The Craft. And so like that, for the most part, it adapted like, the books and stuff like that, but it changed things around here and there. The Grand Wizard was like, much younger. Maud had a different last name, and just a couple, and it was also a musical for some bizarre reason. I'm still not sure why. I watched part of it to the point where the girls went invisible, but then I stopped. I just didn't want to hear the music no more. But for the most part, The Worst Witch has always been relegated to that of television and stuff. With that of this series, the 2001 series, what was it called? Weird Sister College, where Mildred goes off to like college and stuff like that. Then years later, in the 2000s, you had the new Worst Witch, which I reviewed. Go watch that. It's also still on YouTube, where her cousin was on the show. They made up a character to be her cousin. It was actually a pretty cool show. It was a bit different than that of the 1998 show. They tried to be just a tad bit more edgy, just a tad and everything, but they made a bunch of new characters. Some people got replaced on the show, some people got recast on the show. It only lasted for 2 seasons because the main actress, she just didn't want to be on the show anymore. And then of course, there's the 2017 show, and that lasted for 4 seasons, and the main actress, Bella Ramsey, was only in 3 because she left citing that of mental illness. And so, but then later on went back to Hollywood, so I don't know what was going on. I sometimes wonder what's it like behind the scenes of doing those shows, because they have to work multiple hours during the day. They're kids, and it can be very stressful because when filming a magical show, it requires a lot of CGI. Flying on a broom ain't easy and everything. And so maybe it was just too much for her. And so, they recast Mildred. And I actually liked the new Mildred, but the show just didn't last past that 1 season she was in, and they wrapped everything up. And it really sucks because we never get to see the 5th year of like the girls in school. The shows always get like canceled. It's almost like The Worst Witch is cursed in a way, because the television shows, while good and people really enjoy them and stuff, they never seem to last that long. because there are always people in the show who, for whatever reason, just wants to like leave the show. And because, like, and then they have to get like recast and stuff. There's been two different Ethel Hollows in the 1998 series. There was two Miss Hardbrooms, and like, well, there was one in the 1998 series, and then there was one in the new Worst Witch series that came out. They had to recast the actress. I'm not sure why the actress didn't come back. Miss Bat, she left after the second season in the 98 series. She didn't return for the new witch. Miss Drill didn't return for the new witch. Then when you get to the new Worst Witch show, then all of a sudden the new like Worst Witch actress, she wanted to leave the show. The original Ethel Hollow, she came back for the Weird Sister college show after she left, and she left because her mom said she got homesick, and the actress actually revealed she doesn't like her character and stuff. Then the original Miss Heartbroom came back to cameo in Weird Witch and stuff like that, a Weird Sister college and stuff. Then when it comes to that, the 2017 show, the original Maud left after season 1 for some reason. Then the original Mildred, she left after the 3rd season. And it's just one of those things where it's like this whole franchise is cursed and stuff. For some reason, everybody just wants to keep leaving the show and everything. And I'm not sure why. But when it comes to that, the 1998 series, yes, it is a very enjoyable show. It's very pleasant. However, compared to that of 2017 and the new Worst Witch, and if you ever watch Harry Potter, it does feel a bit outdated and stuff like that. Like, it's a very humble show. Like I said before, it's very pleasant and stuff. It's enjoyable because it's just a school type show. It's kind of like, they're supposed to be kids, but they're actually like teenagers and stuff. And it's just like a teen show where they're at school, things happen like mischief and stuff at school, and they have to caused by magic, and they have to use their magical powers to try to fix it. It's a very safe type show because the books were written back in the 70s, and these were supposed to be more kid friendly books as opposed to that of the darkness of Harry Potter. And so because it's a kid friendly type show, book, the show had to be kid friendly and stuff like that. It wasn't never really like edgy and stuff like that. They never really pushed the boundaries or anything. So if you do watch it, don't expect it to be like Harry Potter. Don't expect it to be like the 2017 series, because this was a different time. This was the late 90s and the early 2000s. And, and so, for some people, it just might be a little bit outdated for them. But like I said before, it is enjoyable. It has a nice cast. It's acted very well. And it's just this warm, cozy feeling you get when you watch this show. You know what I'm saying? It's also because you have the old camera grain to it. It has that old school warm feeling to it, you know what I'm saying? You can watch it, sit down with your family, and just have a pretty enjoyable time. And so when it comes to that, say the first 2 seasons and stuff, they are more closely related to that of the books. But once they ran out of book source material, they decided just to go in their own direction, because some of the books they decided not to adapt, like the more later seasons, which the 2017 was able to touch on, like that one dog that Mildred found and everything. Like, they was able to go a little bit into that, but even the 2017, like I said before, they change a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so, as expected with the television show, when you adapt something, they're gonna make changes here and there. They're gonna add new characters, which they get to do whatever they want to with them. They change people's names around. They add names on the people because the adults in the book didn't have first names, and so they added that into, like, the show and everything. Some people had their hair color and style as they did in the book, and others didn't, like Ethel, who has brown hair in the show, but in the book she has like blonde. And for her sister Sybil, she had to have brown hair as well. And Sybil's best friend, whose name escapes me right now, has that carrot top, like, hairstyle, like she does in the book and she does in the show. But for some reason in 2017 they didn't do that. And so they also added, like, new characters in the show, which I do appreciate because they were people of color. And I'll get into them when I get into the character profiles and stuff. However, when they did add these two characters of color, one thing I started to notice with the show is, like, so they added Jadu and they added Ruby, and one's black and one's Indian, and they were never in the books. And so this was to add diversity to the show, which I really appreciate. And it's very shocking. This was back in like the late 80s, late 90s, early 2000s. So for a show to try to have inclusion, that was like amazing, and especially that of a British show and stuff. And so it gave, like, Mildred some extra friends and stuff like that. So that was always kind of cool. But the problem was with these two characters is that they never really did anything with them, I noticed. Like, they're her best friends and they hang out and they dance and they talk and they do spells and this and that. But of course, Edith and Maud are her two best friends from the book, and they're in the show. And, like, so of course, like, you'll see those two a bit more. So whenever Mildred would do like her adventure type stuff, you'll mostly see those two with her, and they will leave these two out. And then I started to notice something as, like, the series kept going on. Like, if they had like a person guest starring on the show, of course, they had to accommodate and make arrangements on the show and pay that person a bit more. And whenever they would do that, they will, that's how normal shows do. Like, they'll have like a guest star. That person's probably a bit more money. So one of, like, the recurring characters or main characters will be out of the show. And this is what happened, because the ones they will leave out the show are like these two. And sometimes I notice you will see these two in the show hanging out with Mildred and her friends, but they would never say nothing. They would just be there and won't say nothing. And then I remember one time with Ruby, like, she was missing from the entirety of the episode. But then at the very last, she was there sitting down, and she looked like a background character because she didn't even say nothing. And so I do hate when they exclude, like, certain characters. They normally always go with that of, like, the people of color. You know what I'm saying? And for the most part, you really don't know anything about these characters or what their certain purpose is in the show. Like, what is their, like, gimmick or whatever, They don't have one. They're literally just characters on the show who are friends with Mildred and stuff. Like, we saw Ruby dance one time, and we saw her listening to music on headphones. And that's about it. So we know she likes to dance, but we only saw it in that one episode. But other than that, we don't know nothing about these two. And, I'm just kind of like, if you're gonna add people of color to show that, hey, we're diverse and everything like that. We're not going to leave people out. At least give them something to do and at least explore their characters a little bit. That's all I ask, you know what I'm saying? But it was cool to see that they added these two, you know what I'm saying? Because in the 2017 one, there are no Indian characters, I don't think, in the show. There are black characters, but those have been like, well, one was added to the show and the other one was race bent. However, it's in the third season when they go off script from the books because they had no more source material that they're able now to finally give these two like a solo type episode that actually does evolve their characters just a bit. Now, one of the things that they did in this show that no other Worst Witch show did was the music that played in the background when they used magic. I really appreciate that. It had a nice ring to it, and it really just set the tone because, you know, at the first two seasons, their CGI wasn't particularly all that great. So they really didn't do too much when it came to CGI type stuff. So just hearing that music just sounded really nice. And I wish the other series could do it. And so like one of the things that they would do that set them apart from like Harry Potter, because Georgina said that the people in Harry Potter ride their brooms the wrong way and stuff like that. Basically, the way they ride them in The Worst Witch is they do it the way women used to ride horses back in the day. Well, they would sit on it with both their legs dangling on one side, as opposed to like, you know, mounting it like a bike. Personally, I've never really liked that. Like, cause it's just kind of like, just like with horses, like, how do you not fall off like that, you know? And so one thing they would do with Miss Cackle's academy, especially in The Worst Witch shows, is they would have the cat ride on the broomstick. I'm not exactly sure why that is, because it only really happens in like when they're first trying to like use their brooms and get their cats and stuff like that. And so I'm guessing for the show, and every show that is, they just drop that angle because the cats don't want to stay on the broom, and I don't blame them. And so like Mildred, one thing that she would do is she would pass her like broom flying test with her cat because she'll just put it in like a bag and hang the bag off her broom. You know, so that was always clever. I always like how she'll find like the third way to solve like a puzzle, you know. Now, one thing that I will kind of agree with when it comes to Jill Murphy is that she said she liked the show in the beginning when it was closer to the books, but she didn't like the third season. The third season is a bit different. There's still magical stuff, yeah, but it feels more modern, mortal, human-like, you know what I'm saying? Like it deals more with the girls and like, you know, them getting older and like in music and getting like that the second episode getting like a part-time job so they can go into the workforce and stuff. While that's not bad or nothing like that, it just kind of feels a bit different from when you watch the first two seasons. And you would think that the writers will have like a handle on how to create more magical-ish type stuff in the show, you know, since they worked on the first two seasons. A lot of shows suffer from that, where they run out of source material, they try to add their own stuff, and sometimes it just never really works out. However, I will say that second episode is probably the only episode in which I hate. I don't mind the girls having to work a part-time job to get the work experience. I don't mind Ethel being her bratty self and changing the entire restaurant and changing like, you know, the entire like food menu. It was kind of interesting to see like the head wizard dude get all grumpy because he couldn't get his cream tea and stuff like that. But it does make him look too bombastic and everything and too like mean. But what I did not like was the racism in that episode. Like, there's like subtext to that and everything. Because first you have Miss Drill, and her girls are like just jogging for whatever reason. But for whatever reason, she put camouflage makeup on their faces, right? All the girls put like a little dab like underneath their eyes and around their nose, like a splotch, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not sure why they have to wear that because they're not doing any type of training that's like militaristic. But whatever reason, they're not playing like football, but for whatever reason, they put like the splash there. And so it's like a big wad here and there, and not subtle like you would normally see people. But the way they put it on Miss Drill looks completely like blackface. It's all over her face and it's black. The only part of her skin you ever see is like around the eyes and around the mouth. That is blatant racism that they try to get away with on like this teen type show. And this was back in the 90s, and well, this was actually 2001. And you know how television and movies were back in those days. They would do crap like this, think it's funny, and think you wouldn't pay attention to. But it is really offensive. But and not only was it that, but then it was the Japanese people. So one thing this show doesn't have is any Asian people whatsoever. Unless you look at South Asian, Indian people, then you have Jadouche. And so like there are no like Asian people, like no Chinese, no Japanese, no Vietnamese, no none of that, you know what I'm saying? And so while at Mrs. Cozy Place, there's a bunch of Japanese tourists there, like a whole bunch of them. And they have them speaking in broken English. And it sounds so offensive and everything. Like, it's just like so stereotypical. It's kind of like what they don't know, like English, like, you know what I'm saying? They have to speak the broken English and stuff. And it's just really odd and weird. Like, why they had to be tourists from Japan? There are actually Asian people in Europe and everything. And they talk just as like British English as the next person. Why couldn't they just do that? Because how would they even know what Mrs. Cozy's like, cups, cakes and like cookies and stuff place is, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like one of those, like it's like double racism in like the same episode. And then like the dude gets so offended, he's all like, "This is why the British Empire fell." And I'm just like, Lord, have mercy in a child show. But then also in this episode is something I said before. They really don't try to hide that they're witches. Ethel literally changed the entire restaurant in the blink of an eye, which the CGI was good on that. Because the CGI did improve by the third season. But she changed it in like a blink of the eye. How did people not notice that? And they did notice that. And it's other times they've exposed magic to mortals and they're not supposed to, but they just act like they don't care. Even the head wizard dude yelled to the Japanese people talking about, "You ain't never seen a wizard or witches before." And I'm just like, dude, you're literally exposing your entire organization that's supposed to be hidden. And this show just kind of glosses over that. And they always come up with the weirdest. I know they gloss over it because the thing is weird because nobody is supposed to know about witchcraft that are not like magically inclined. This was the first little old school racist reference they used in season 1 when Miss Drill told this guy, "Oh yeah, Miss Heartbroom, she didn't disappear in the thin air. She's like, she said the Asian offensive word, like the old word, she's one of those like fast runners and everything." I'm just kind of like, so okay, so they are supposed to keep all that hidden and stuff, but yet they never explain how Miss Drill knows about magic and Frank and everything, and how and Miss Cozy, the lady who literally just makes like goodies and treats, and somehow she knows about witchcraft and stuff. Like, why would Miss Cackle tell her that? Because Miss Cackle and the head wizard dude always go there. So why would they expose that for? It's one of those things I wish the show would have done a little bit better in explaining. But like back to the blackface thing, you could tell that it was intentional blackface because the girls who had like the tiny splotches on their face that were really tiny, in later scenes they would add like more to cover up more of their faces, and some of the girls, like one or two of them that were like background characters. And it's all like, I know exactly what y'all are doing. And it's quite a shame they would do some crap like that. And so when it does come to the show, of course, Mildred is like, the main character, which makes total sense because it's called the worst witch and that's who she is. And so when it comes to the supporting cast it's interesting because her friends are there to give support to the main character, but her friends in the show are more like, you see, Mildred's the A-list character, but her friends tend to be the C-list characters. They are the ones who kind of pop in and kind of pop out. They say a couple of lines and that's it. We really don't get to explore her friends that very well. Like I said before, like Jadu and Ruby, we don't explore their character backgrounds whatsoever. But when it comes to that Ahmad and Edith and stuff, I think that's Edith. I think okay, Ethel's the other one, and Edith. If you ever do see them, they're always with Mildred and everything. You never see them alone. They don't never go on no adventures alone by themselves. Stories don't really revolve around them and stuff like that, unless it's supposed to. Like, say, when Edith shows up in the books, she shows up like in the show, and she's the troublemaker, prankster, and everything. So that episode revolves around her and how she turned her cat into like a spider monkey and stuff, and how she gets Mildred in trouble. So for the most part, that's her only solo like episode. And then as for Maud's just there to like tag along, and there's really no solo episode with her other than when she got jealous of Edith because Millie has a new best friend. And also in that treasure chest episode, like she is the one with Drusilla that found like Mildred and everything and helped bring like Millie back and stuff. But other than that, they don't really venture off on their own. There's really no character development with none of the friends and stuff like that. It's very basic because that's how times were back in the 90s and stuff, storytelling and stuff. So they really didn't expand like on these characters. What you see is like what you get from start to finish, as opposed to the 2017 show that elevates those characters to where they have more of like a footing in the show and more of a voice, and they actually do evolve and everything. And that's because decades have passed and they improved on the source material. Now, who exactly are like the B-list characters? Ironically, it's the teachers and everything. The teachers get a lot of screen time and a lot of dialogue. This could be because they're older and stuff like that. And, and it's quite interesting to see the teachers take such a footing in the show, because in the 2017 one, you still get the teachers like Miss Cakle and Harbrone being the main ones, but the other ones kind of like fade in the background. And because they let the supporting like best friend characters like take over and stuff. But here it's like they have like a lot of dialogue and you get to know them and everything, and they do evolve as the show goes on and everything. And I find that really fascinating because you would assume the best friends would and not that of the teachers and stuff. And I remember the actress who plays Mildred. Let me think of her name. Georgina and everything. She said that the adults actually let the kids, say their lines the way they wanted to, and they didn't give no input, which is, normally in the show the adults are always trying to give like the younger people pointers and be like, hey, do this way, do that this way, you might want to do that way. It was nice that they allowed them to learn their craft on their own. Now, like I said before, Jill Murphy is the one who created this entire franchise, and may she rest in peace. Sadly, she died in 2021. And this all came about because of her own lifestyle. Like, she decided to create these books and stuff because when she was growing up, she went to like an all-girls school that was pretty strict and everything. And like somebody made fun of her, asking how in the world you ever get put in this school? Are your parents rich? Because because the thing is, she was clumsy, she wasn't that good at school, and so that's how she came up with Mildred Hubble and everything. Mildred's clumsy, she's unaware of stuff, and and so it's cool when people use their own experiences to create works of art. And these books were created back in 1974. And I remember there was an article where she said, like, she particularly did not like the TV movie and stuff like that. I'm not sure why she didn't like it, but she just didn't like it. Probably because they strayed from source material here and there a little bit. You know how people are. They normally don't like when stuff is adapted. But she loves the 1998 series, at least for the first 2 seasons, because they were more closely to that of the source material. But then when they ran out of source material, they started making their own stuff up. And she particularly didn't like it that much as before. But that's cool that she did like it. And in the interview with Georgina and stuff, we actually see like a card or a letter that Jill gave her and stuff. It's sad that she's gone, and it's sad that, the worst witch can't expand into like movies or merch or like anything like that, because there's so much Harry Potter stuff. And as I'm recording this, I'm seeing like birds just like attack each other. Spring's a coming. So, like I said before, this was a joint thing between Canada and Britain. So, Canada actually funded the show, and part of their requirement, they had to add Canadian actors to the show, and they had to film at least 2 episodes in Canada. So, there are some episodes where the girls just packed up their stuff, flew on over to Canada, and filmed some episodes. I think one of them might be the one with the Boy Scouts they encounter. Because I swear to God, one of the Boy Scout dudes, I feel like I've seen him on Goosebumps before. And so there were many people who were executive producers and writers and directors on the show, but not for every episode or every season. And so Angela Beeching, she was the producer for 30 episodes, and Michael Guy, or whatever you say his name, was producer for 10. And one of the things I love the most about this show is its intro and end credits. The intro is very pleasant, it's soothing. It's a bunch of witches on their brooms heading to Mrs. Cackle's school and everything, and then you see Mildred just hovers in, and it's just so pleasant. She's smiling, all happy, and then you see her 4 friends on their broomsticks going in the same direction, just waving at her. Like, there's just the visuals are cool to watch, but even more is the song. That is the reason why I always listen to the end credits. Because normally I don't watch end credits, but I watch them just so I can hear this song. It is so beautiful and everything. It's called Onward Ever Striving. And it's by like the Whisper School for Girls and stuff, which is a real like school, and they just sung this so eloquently and stuff like that, and it's just so soothing to hear. It really puts you in the mood for when you watch the show and you look at the show and how it's filmed back in the 90s and stuff, with like the grain on the camera and the soothing like British voices and stuff like that. It just really puts you in a certain state of mind. And that's what sets it apart from the 2017 one. Because the 2017, like I said, is more modern, it's more like bonkers and everything. And even their theme song is more bonkers sounding because the show is more like bonkers and stuff. But I love the 2017 show so much. And so it lasted for 3 seasons, 40 episodes and stuff. They're about 20 something minutes long. And like I said before, you know, it is available on DVD and also data streaming. Also, Georgina, she won a Young Artist Award back in 2000. And there's an interview with her where she's older. I'll link the interview down below. And it's really cool to learn and hear certain things that happen, like, you know, in the show. Because she said, like, you know, she had no idea that they was gonna fly her to like America for like the award show. So she talked to like, you know, the Mrs. Cakle actress. She's like, yeah, they're gonna like fly you down there. And so that was really fun. She showed on the interview the guest list of all the stars that was gonna be there: Hilary Duff, Melissa Joan Hart, and you know, so many others and stuff. And of course, Melissa Joan Hart was Sabrina from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And so Georgina beat all of them. And it's just kind of like, wow, this kid show that is like from Britain, that's very like, you know, safe and like very pleasant to watch. It outbeat those other shows like even not even but Lizzie McGuire and like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. That's how special this show is to people and stuff, you know. Because Georgina said it shocks and surprises her that people really, really, really like, you know, still talk about this show and get like excited and love it so much, because growing up, all of her family members and peers, they just didn't care. They just like kind of like, okay, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But like all these other people just like loved it. And the reason why people love it is because it takes you from reality. It's escapism. Like you get to enter this world of like magic and like uniforms and flying on brooms and like, you know, casting spells. And it's just something so different that the mind needs to escape reality. That's why TV is so important and stuff, and movies, especially what my country's going through right now and crap, and what the world is going through right now and crap. It's like people need that escapism, you know what I'm saying? And I remember her saying like, you know, how they used to like, you know, fly on the brooms. It would be like attached to this thing and wires and a person holding on to it, and like they'll have like a blue screen and stuff like that, and how like if you tilt a certain way you'll fall off it. And she was so scared because apparently she had to wear a wig in like, you know, the show. I'm not sure if it's like the entire show, but at least in the first season I knew. And sadly, we lost some people on this show, not just that of Jill, who created it, but two of the stars on the show. Claire Porter, who played Miss Drill, she passed away, I believe, in 2015. I had no idea she died and everything. She was such a lovely woman and stuff. And it's just so sad that she died. Una Stubbs, who played Mrs. Bet, oh my God, that was a lovely older woman, man. She died as well. Like, I remember I found that out a couple of years ago, and I was so shocked and surprised to find out. I forget how I found out. I think she died in 2021, actually. I think it was one of the actresses who posted something and said that, like, you know, she passed and stuff. And That's really sad. And like Miss Bat was such a kooky character, but she was only in the first two seasons, and she didn't appear in the third, and she wasn't in the New Witch. Terrence Hardiman, who played the Grand Wizard and stuff, he passed away sadly and stuff. He was in the first season, but did not appear in the second, but he returned for the third. And I actually had no idea he died until now. So Mildred Hubble, also known as Millie, she is played by Georgina Sherrington. And so she said originally, I think one of the people on the show didn't want her as Mildred. And like, but everybody else did. And so thankfully she won like the role. She said her and Mildred kind of are very similar because they did bad in school. They were kind of clumsy. So she was perfect for this role and stuff. And she had no idea she would even look like her because apparently her hair is different. I'm not sure how different, but in her older years, she has like shoulder length type hair. So I'm not sure if it was just short back then or what, but she said they like, put a wig on her and stuff. And they had to braid her wig. And when she had to do like the double broom scene, I believe with Enid and stuff, she flipped over, turned around or something like that, and her wig fell off. And so, like, yeah, like when I first watched this a few years back, I had no idea that like she wore a wig. But then I started to notice something in my second watching that like part of her pigtails was something was weird going on with them. They were getting clunky and coming apart, and I'm just like, are they real or not? Because I'm like, what the world is going on? But and then also I kind of realized, I'm like, hold up. Every time, okay, all the girls wear their hair the exact same way, just like they do in the books. But whenever they sleep and in their pajamas, they put their hair down. But Millie was the only one who never put her hair down in season one. It was always in the pigtails. I'm like, okay, that must be like a wig or something. And it is. But then by season 2 and 3, she started letting her hair down. I don't know if this is by like, say, a wig or if it's actually her own hair. Because I'm not sure the length of her hair back in the day. Now, Mildred is supposed to have like reddish hair, but none of the Mildreds on screen has ever had that except for the very last one in 2017 after Bella left. And so, like, Georgina said she was actually the youngest on the show when it comes to the group of friends because they was a bit older. They was like 14, 15. So I'm not sure how young she was, 13, 12, something like that. Probably like 13 or something like that. But you can never tell because in the later seasons, she started to grow very tall. And like she was like taller than most of the other girls and stuff. So I always assumed she was just like the oldest and everything. And but nah, she was actually like, the youngest and everything. And so like I'm trying to think what else she said from the interview. That her and the girls get along like very well. Like they had like a really good bond. And like, the show where they would hang out on like, on set like all the time. Then when they would go home to their hotels and everything, they would still hang out. But then it got kind of sad when, in between shooting the show, they didn't see each other. But then they would come back and everything would be all back the way it was like on the show. And they still keep in touch till this day. That is awesome. And you could tell that they was really good friends because of the chemistry they had like on the show and stuff. And so Mildred Hubble, the pigtails herself. So Millie came from a non-magical family. She went to Cackle's Academy and she is the worst witch. She's horrible at like doing spells, mixing potions, flying on her broom, and even her cat is just as awkward as she is. all the girls are supposed to have black cats, but she had got picked last, and she got a tabby cat and everything. Now, the actress has said that that cat loved everybody on the show except for her. It will always hiss at her and everything. And and so it made it a bit like difficult and stuff. But she loved her bats in the room. There was 3 bats on the show, but they had to put like a net underneath the bats because the bats would end up everywhere on the cameras and like, you know, the air conditioning vent and stuff like that. And so like when it comes to that of Mildred, she's just this very awkwardly clumsy girl who doesn't have much self-confidence. Like, she has a group of friends, but she has like a nemesis in school, and that of Ethel Hollow. But then one of her teachers is just so rude and constantly mean to her that it scares the crap out of her. She does start to grow confidence as the series progresses a little bit more, even standing up to that of Ethel and stuff like that. But even though she is technically the worst witch, she has a heart of gold. She always sees the best in people, and she always tries her best to do well and everything. And as the series progresses, she does get better at witchcraft. She learns how to fly a broom a bit better. She can do her spells a bit better and stuff, but she still always tends to mess up, especially when it comes to concocting like a potion that always ends up backfiring on her. And, you know, and it's ironic because just like with Harry Potter, she ends up saving the day. Now, when she saves the day, it's more in small scales. It's more that has to do with the school. You know, the school is very old, it's falling down, and like there are people who tends to do bad stuff. Like, say, Mrs. Cackle's evil twin sister. On Halloween, she overheard them plotting and everything, and in the book, she turned them into snails. In the show, it's a bit differently and everything. And Miss Cackle's evil twin sister literally wants to take over the school and just reign over everything because she's evil. And so, like, it's her that ends up saving the day and, like, stopping an evil, powerful witch and stuff. And she's just a girl who barely knows anything about witchcraft. Now, when it comes to the villains of this show, they are so corny. This is a kid's show, so they have to keep it in that corny, kiddish type of way, you know? And it's just kind of like, really? This is one thing that totally changes in like the 2017 where they're a bit more edgier and stuff. And so like when she's not saving the day that way, she saves it like other like ways. When say Ethel's being her bratty self and does like a spell and like, you know, she has to like fix it, or like, you know, the school's having a debate with this other rivalry school, so like, you know, they have to like, you know, find a way to like beat them. Like it's like this one boys school and the boys think they're better and the boys are like cheating, so they start using magic to like counter them and stuff. There's this like mortal high school that Miss Drill went to because Miss Drill doesn't have no powers. And so like they have to like face off against like this really good basketball team, and they start using magic and stuff like that because the other school is cheating because of how rough they are. But like they have to use magic in order to like beat them and stuff. And so it's little things like that, like she ends up like, you know, saving the day. And it's weird because they're not supposed to let mortals know about magic, but in this show they expose magic so much to people, and the way they explain it off is so weird. Like when I say this is a show of its time, it really is. There are 2 insensitive Asian references in the show where instead of calling them Asian, they use the O word, which they don't like. And it's just kind of like, you have to remember, it was the late 90s and a different country and stuff. And so other times when she saves like the day is mostly like, you know, there's this one wizard who got turned into a frog when he was younger. And see, Mildred, okay, here's the thing, right? There's this boy on the show, and he kind of, I don't know if he turned Ethel into a pig or Mildred did, but either way, I think it was Mildred that accidentally turned Ethel into like a pig. So to get her back in season 2, she turned Millie into a frog, and so Millie's just hopping around, and she meets this other frog, and this other frog said, "Well, I used to be a wizard and everything," and so she has to come up with a way to turn him back, and she devises a way to turn him back. And he's actually friends with the Grand Wizard and stuff. And that's weird to say, Grand Wizard, because in America, that is not a good. I'm gonna say something different. I don't want people thinking I'm thinking of a certain supremacist group and everything. And so, the High Wizard, why not? And so, like the magical wizard, whatever. Anyway, so the Supreme Wizard, why not? So like he knew that guy and everything, and so she helped restore that dude's life, and now he can't be bouncing around like a frog. He gets to be human again, and so that's so great. Or when she encourages like the nephew or the groundskeeper, if you really want to be a witch so bad, you're more than welcome to be at the school and this and that. And then there's this one dude named Merlin that she encourages him to take the initiative, and so he becomes like that former frog dude's like apprentice and stuff like that. And so she's kind of one of those people you just want to be friends with, because like she's not evil, she's not mean, she's not vain, she's not a suck up teacher's pet, and it's just like she's a person with an overall good heart and soul to her and stuff. And that's one of the things people love about her character. And even when she's scared, she will still try to like help those who need help and stuff. Mildred also isn't shy about saving her enemies and stuff. And like one time, Miss Hardbroom, well, actually, back to that of Ethel and everything, after she turned her into a pig, like she was about to go to like this farm slaughterhouse type thing, and so she had to rescue her and stuff. And she could just let the girl just be slaughtered or live her life as a pig for the rest of her life, but she knew that would be wrong, and plus she'll get in major trouble and stuff. But when she saved Miss Harbroom in that one season 2 episode, that was so cool, because I can't remember, she saved her twice. One time it was a false alarm. So it was either season 1 or season 2. There was like this alarm system. And so Miss Harbroom pretended that there was a fire, and it was season 2 because Sybil was there. So in season 2, Miss Harbroom faked the fire so that the girls would be prepared in case of emergency and the alarm would go off, typical fire drill, right? Mildred had no idea that the whole thing was like fake and everything, and she thought Mrs. Harbroom was really in trouble. So she tried to rescue her. Only problem is, since she's really bad at flying on her broom, she ended up dropping a bucket of water on top of Mrs. Harbroom's head, and the bucket got stuck on her head. But then in season 2 also, in that same episode, she helped free Sybil when she was trapped in her room. I'm not sure if a real fire broke out or something, but Sybil couldn't get out her room, and so Mildred had to help her and stuff. This caused Sybil to just stop being afraid of Mildred and wanted to be basically her best friend and wanted her to be her sister. This is the only time she's ever really thrown shade at somebody other than Ethel. And I guess it's because she didn't want to get on Ethel's bad side, so she just didn't want her sister to be anywhere near her. But then also in season 2, on that vacation episode, the treasure chest episode with the Dragon Lord and everything, Mildred has a habit of breaking rules. She didn't want to get rid of Tabby for Ebony and everything. And so she snuck her on board, like, the vacation. Well, she put her in like the boat and she put some food like by the side, but the cat never went and got the food. And Miss Hardbroom slipped on the fish, hit her head, and Ethel and Drusilla pushed the boat out to sea because they knew the cat was in there, but they ain't know Miss Hardbroom was there. So Mildred, looking for her cat and everything, she flies out to like go get her cat and realizes Miss Hardbroom is there, but it's completely knocked unconscious. So she uses the broom, some rope, and has the broom guide the boat back to shore. But the problem is it gets stuck on some rocks and a treasure chest and everything that has a talisman in there that helped defeat that of the Dragon Lord and everything. It's like whether or not she likes you or not, she will try to save you and everything, because that's the type of sweet, gentle soul that she is. Now, Georgina mentioned that like after the 3rd season, they were supposed to get a movie. But something derailed it. I think it was Harry Potter, I think. They were supposed to get their movie, but then Harry Potter movie came out, and so the studio just decided to go with Harry Potter. It's gonna be more theatrical and bigger budget and stuff like that. So instead, they did the Weird Sister College show. Now, Weird Sister College got foreshadowed in the 3rd season. It's a college to where after you graduate your boarding school, you go there. It's a much more darker show. It only lasted for a season. Something happens to Mildred where she has to cut her hair off really short. And they wear regular clothes as opposed to boarding school clothes. I did not particularly like the show at all. I'm gonna rewatch it one day to see if I change my mind, but for the most part, when I watched it years ago, I didn't like it. I didn't like all the changes. It is neat to see them wear regular clothes, but it just makes it look too realistic. It just basically looks like your average generic witch show where people wearing regular clothes and just have magic and stuff. And the only people to return full time is Mildred, of course, and that of Ethel, played by Felicity Jones again. It did suck to see her get new friends because you see, that's the problem when you have a show like, say, Sabrina, a Teenage Witch, and then they go off to college. They have to have a new look, a new environment, and a new set of friends, and people don't want that. They don't like change. So to not see her friends go to college with her was really like, it just bummed people out. Kind of like Saved by the Bell, the new class, No, not Saved by the Bell, the new class. Saved by the Bell, the college years and stuff. It just didn't feel the same. And, in Enid, she appears on one episode, and Miss Hardbroom, she makes a cameo, but that's about it. You know what I'm saying? And people just wasn't feeling that show, and it got canceled. Then they created a new worst witch with Millie's cousin Hetty Hubble, and she's the new worst witch and everything. And that was a fun little show and everything in season 2. And this one, they reversed it to where the Hubble and the Hallow are best friends in the show and stuff. And like I said before, it only lasted for 2 seasons because the main actress literally left the show and everything. And I'm just kind of thinking to myself, why in the world would you leave your show and you're the lead and everything? And I hope to God the actress still was able to get roles outside of this show, because if not, it would have been all for nothing. And she has acted, but not that much and stuff. It's been very scattered from that of 2006 to 2017. The last acting credit I can see her with is Call of the Midwife, which that's a good show. She was only in 3 episodes of that, and other than that, she's just like done like TV appearances and like that's about it. It says and stuff because the new Worst Witch came out in 2005 and stuff. And so, not sure how long it would have lasted because they was doing all new material and stuff. But like, you take that chance, and sometimes it backfires. However, I do now see 2 new acting credit roles. One is a short from 2018, and another one, I'm not sure what it is from 2020. Maud Moonshine. So Maud is played by Emma Brown. And she is the first, nice person she meets at Cackle's Academy and end up becoming her best friend. Like Millie, she has pigtails, but hers are not braided, and she wears that of glasses. She's very sweet, very kind, and she'll help out Mildred any way she can, just like a best friend. She doesn't get that much like character development, but like I said in that vacation episode, when Mildred's out at sea stuck at the rocks, she does go out there with Drusilla to help find her and stuff like that. The only other big character development she ever has is when she gets like jealous. If Mildred would hang out with somebody else other than her, she tends to get jealous very quickly. She got jealous of Enid and she got jealous of Merlin. She really hates it when Ethel is mean to Mildred, and she actually ran against Ethel for the head girl position in the final episode. But for some reason she just bowed down because she thought Mildred would be a better fit for it and stuff. Other than that, like I said before, she's very sweet, very kind, slightly shy and everything, but she doesn't get that much character development. Enid Nightshade. So, not Edith. I kept saying Edith before. It's Enid with a D. And so, she's played by Jessica Fox. And she's the new girl at the school. And I forget which book she shows up in. Either the third or the fourth one. In the show, she differs on which episode she comes in. I think it's episode 6 in the 1998 series. And I think it's episode 4 in the 2017. Basically, Enid is like a prankster and a little bit of a wild child and everything. She loves to break the rules and she loves pulling pranks. She sees magic as just having fun because she gets bored very easily. When she shows up, she gets Mildred in trouble, and Mildred has to show her around school and keep her, doing good things. But of course, Enid was going to be Enid. So she has a spider monkey, which turns out to be her familiar cat. But she's so bored of everybody having cats, she just wanted a monkey and everything. And so, for the most part, her and Mildred get trapped in a storage closet and stuff because Ethel's just so nasty and mean, and they have to fly themselves on out of there. After that, she becomes a bit more calmer and everything. She still likes to pull pranks and uses her magic to get revenge on people, but it's a lot less than what she did in that of her first appearance. She also helps this one boy cheat on a test and stuff like that. But for the most part, she is a good rounded person. It's just she loves to use her magic for fun. And when it comes to that of Weird Sister, we get to see what happens to her when she becomes an adult and goes to college. She becomes more of a wild child and not really doing such a good, I think she got kicked out of her school, I believe, because she was too busy partying and everything else. And it was a really sad episode to see. I think it was the 10th episode or something. And it was just really sad to see her go down that path. Ruby Cherry Tree. I love that last name. Played by Joanna Dice. And so she is made up in the show. And when it comes to her, she's mostly the one who likes electronics the most. They do use like electronic devices here and there in the show, and she's primarily the person who loves electronics and stuff. I remember Miss Harbroom zapped her Walkman off her ears and stuff. And so she even had this roboticized dog that somehow hooked up into the school computer, got a virus, and put everybody in like a trance. There was one episode where she created like a time machine, and these like medieval like knights type witches type people came to the present day and everything. And so not much else is known about her other than that one time she danced. She does wear her hair in pigtails, similar to that of Maud and that of Millie, but completely different to where they stick out like far apart. Jadu Wally. I'm not sure how to say the actress name. Harshna Brat. She is Millie's other friend who's made up for the show. Not much is really known about her. She doesn't really do much in the first two seasons. She's kind of just there, somewhat shy, a little vocal, but by the third season, when they started to make up stories on their own, they gave her actually an actual, now that I think about it, they actually did give her like, a her own storyline to where her and Millie didn't want to wear uniforms and this and that, and they started protesting the rules, and so she got put in isolation. But like she and the rest of the girls helped save the day when the girls conjured up a witch that tried to put everybody and like make them go to sleep. Other than that, we really don't know nothing about her character. Ethel Hallow. Boy, this is a bad girl. Originally, she was played by Felicity Jones in the first season only, and then she got replaced by Kathy Allen in the last two seasons, but Felicity returned for Weird Sister College. And like I stated before, it's because Felicity didn't like her character and was homesick and just didn't want to be on the show no more, which was weird when she came back. Their appearances are slightly similar, but not really. Felicity has darker brown hair as Kathy has more reddish brown hair, and Kathy looks a whole lot more younger and stuff. And Felicity, she has a unique way of acting when she plays Ethel and stuff. She's a bad girl, but like she likes to tilt her head to the side every time she talks, and then she bops her head around side to side, acting like she's this adorable type person when really she's a mean, vengeful person. So the thing about this version of Ethel is she has brown hair, which she's supposed to have blonde, and she always has her hair in a ponytail. Her best friend is Drusilla, and she has a sister named Sybil, but she doesn't want people to know she's related to Sybil because Sybil cries a lot. And Ethel is a very vengeful person. She's like a straight A student. She comes from a very wealthy type family, and she hates Mildred to death. She cannot stand her and will do anything in her power to make Mildred look foolish around other people. Like when the head wizard dude came, she messed with what's her name's broom and she plowed right into him and stuff. And so the thing about this version is that she's mean and she's vengeful, but in a whiny kind of way. Like she's very, very jealous and stuff, as opposed to the 2017 one, who is just demented and twisted. But when it comes to this one, on a rare occasion, will feel bad for how she treats Millie. It's to the point when Millie's about to get suspended, and she actually feels bad talking about she didn't mean for her prank to go like that far, you know what I'm saying? But like she does get turned into a pig in the first season, and she turns Mildred into a fraud because Mildred was making fun of her family and everything, and she did not appreciate that. She's always spelling that of like Mildred and her friends, and she's just like a really vile person, but she's like a teacher's pet. This is why she rarely gets in trouble unless somebody catches her in the act. Now, to explain why she looks different between the seasons, they just said she did like a witch makeover because she wanted to look different. This is a clever kind of way to explain why she looks so vastly different and why she sounds different. However, the problem with doing this and giving an explanation, because when other people get recast, they don't explain why they look and sound different. Like, you have that of like the head wizard dude. He got recast in the second season and they don't explain that. Fenella gets recast in the show and they don't explain that. Miss Heartbroom gets recast for the spin-off series and they don't explain that. So it's one of those things where they really didn't have to like explain, but they did. Drusilla Paddock, she's played by Holly Rivers, and she's Ethel's really only like best friend and only friend at that. And so she basically just like a really mean, grouchy girl with red hair, and she does whatever Ethel wants. And she's really like verbally mean and rude to Mildred and all her friends. But like I said before, in season 2, she actually helps Maud save like Mildred. She also loves bugs, but she hates lizards. And for the most part, she will get along with Mildred and her friends when Ethel's not around. But towards the end of the series, her and like Ethel stop being friends when she starts to side with that of Millie. Sybil Hallow is played by Charlotte Knowles, and she's Ethel's younger sister. And she's constantly a crybaby. That's all she ever does is like cry. And she's like scared of that of Mildred because of what that Ethel lied to her about. Not only that, but like she's also terrified of Ethel. And so when Millie saves her life, she wants to be that of like, Mildred's sister and stuff like that. Her best friend, whose name I can't think of at this very moment, like it's similar to that of Drusilla. She has like red hair, but for the most part, Sybil's not mean. But in season 2, she does like a solo episode that revolves around her when the other girls are away, and it's just Bat Drill and the rest of the first year students at like the school. And she finds like this flashlight lamp type thing, and she's able to wish for like magical powers and stuff, like 3 wishes type things. And every time she keeps like wishing for something, it causes like bad stuff to happen, and it kind of like drains the power of the other witches, and she becomes very selfish as a result of that, because everything she wants she just keeps wishing for. And she even has like a steps, I think that's the name of the group, steps, or 5 steps, something like that, poster in like her room. And she's also very gifted at like playing music and stuff. But she actually does save the day one time when she stops like this musician from like stealing the other girl's magic. Clarice Crow, played by Georgia Isla Graham. So she is Sybil's best friend and will help her any way she can. She's introduced into like the second season, and she has carrot top like hair. But in the 2017 series, she has glasses and short brown hair. Mainly because the actress just didn't want to dye her hair. Frank Blossom, played by Berwick Keller. He is the groundskeeper. He does not have no magic, but he knows what witches and wizards are for some reason. And so he mostly just appears in and out of the show, taking care of the garden and like this and that. He gets one episode to himself where he enters his fruit in a competition, which the girls make grow by magic. Charlie Blossom, played by Nicholas Pepper. He is Frank's nephew. I think he's made up for the show because I believe Frank is made up for the show. And so basically he was there when Ethel got turned into a pig, and somehow he cast a spell to turn her back into human, even though he does not have magical powers himself. So I'm not sure how that's possible. And so the next time we see him, he wants to be a witch and not a wizard. And so he tries to take the test, but then unable to do it. And so the girls help him cheat, and he realizes he can't be a witch. So then he later goes to this one college, I guess, to be a apprentice or something like that, to a wizard and something like that. Miss Tapioca is played by Annette Badland, and she is the cook who is Italian, and she has no magic. And so basically she's just the head chef there. And she later gets replaced by another cook because she stopped appearing in the show. She barely appears in the show. Head wizard Egbert Hellenborg. He first was played by Terrence Hardiman and then later by Richard Durden. And so he's basically, this big head wizard type dude who's kind of this authority figure. He's a bit grouchy, and Mildred flew into him with his broom, which he forbade her and Ethel from attending to the next Halloween event because he loves Halloween and stuff like that. He also knows that dude who used to be a frog and stuff like that. Egermon Rowan-Webb, played by Paul Copley. And so he was once a young little wizard, and he got turned into a frog, which he met Mildred, and then she helped restore him back to that being human. He takes on the apprentice Merlin, a young boy at this one, I think it's Camelot College, where Hellenborg teaches at and stuff. And he's a really nice, goofy, silly man and stuff. Merlin Langstaff, played by Guy Witcher. So basically he showed up with these school bullies and everything. And he was the only one who wasn't a bully. And so Mildred can see he had a really kind soul. So she teaches him to ditch his bully friends and then later on take on an apprenticeship where he frees that of the Dragon Lord in season 2. Griselda and Felina. So they are two girls who are upperclassmen and stuff, and they mostly appear in the second season, and they appear a lot as recurring characters to assist that of the students taunt a little bit of the first years and stuff like that. And one of them got replaced, and so they're kind of just best friends, and they're mostly in the library and stuff and things like that. Mrs. Bat, played by Una Stubbs. This woman is kooky like a bat. This woman, may she rest in peace, she was hilarious on this show. Basically, she teaches music and stuff like that, and I think something else. And so this woman will always get upset and go hide in the broom, the closet and stuff, the broom closet or whatever it's called, the cupboard and stuff. And she's literally just a wacky, silly loon of a person in the head, but she's so sweet, so kind, and she does try to make potions that cure people's ailments and stuff like that. And she always wears these lace open finger gloves and stuff. How exactly she got a position there is my guess because of how silly she is, but she's always getting flustered and everything. She did not come back for that of season 3 for some reason, or the spin-off series, and she got replaced. She got replaced by Mrs. Cruikshank, and she's played by Polly James. And basically, she teaches music and stuff like that. She's a little kooky in the head, but not as much as that as Mrs. Bat. And she's the one who gets seduced by that magician and stuff, who tried to take over the school that Sybil had to stop. Amelia Cakle, played by that of Claire Coulter. She is the only Canadian on the show. And I believe she moved to Britain when she was 9 years old, which gives her that British accent. And like I said before, in the dub, she just went back to her normal sounding voice and stuff. She is the head mistress at Cackle's Academy. And she has like, not so much a bob, it's kind of like a shoulder length bob, gray hair. She has an evil twin sister named Agatha. And the thing about her, that from what I read online in the books, she's this very caring, sweet, soft-spoken person, very similar to that of Dumbledore. And just like with Dumbledore, there's a person that she loves to death, but turns out to be evil and tries to take over. Harry Potter loves to rip off. However, in the show, in the first season, she's very loud and grouchy and stuff. Very similar to Michael Gambon's, like, Dumbledore. But by the second season, she turns a bit more kinder and she's less grouchier and stuff. She understands that Mildred has a hard time understanding stuff, but can't, sit back and just constantly let her break the rules and not understand things, even to the point of almost expelling her. And because of that loud, grouchy nature and stuff, it just makes her seem like she doesn't like her. Now, in the 2017 series, that Miss Cackle is very soft-spoken. So when she, talking about, well, I'm going to have to kick you out of school, Mildred, she does in such a sweet, nice way that is kind of it comes off weird and everything. And so, I understand why this actress made it sounded more grouchier in that first season. She also has a huge sweet tooth and likes to sneak away to Mrs. Cozy's, place so she can get pastries and stuff. She is a very understanding woman. When she understands that Charlie wants to be a witch, she's gonna allow him to go to school there, even though he is that of a boy, and boys are not permitted. But of course that doesn't happen. And so her character is the only person who appears in the new Worst Witch. Miss Drill, played by Claire Porter. May she rest in peace. She's the only one, other than Frank, who doesn't have magical powers for some reason. In the 2017 series, she's actually a witch and stuff. And in the 2017 series, she wears completely different clothes. Now, in the series, 1998 series, she dresses very similar to that of her book counterpart. She dresses in sporting clothes, like track suits and stuff like that. But then in I think one episode, just like in the book, she wears a suit. In the first season, she also has short, choppy blonde hair. I don't think she has that in the book. And so she looks like very much a PE teacher and stuff. She's constantly working out and riding her bike in the first season, lifting weights and stuff like that. She will help the girls out, in even though she doesn't have powers. Like when Agatha tried to take over the school, she found Mildred out in the woods, and so she didn't have her bike, and so she ran all the way from the woods back to that of the school. And so she does care about these witches. How she knows about them is it's never explained. By the second season, she takes up a different position on teaching different classes, and she mostly butts heads with that of Mrs. Bat, and also having a bit more of a comedic tone. And so, like, another person she doesn't really get along with is Mrs. Heartbroom, because Mrs. Heartbroom don't like non-magical people. Now, in one episode, Miss Drill is given powers by the girls, and the teachers just assume this is like a latent development and stuff like that, that her powers were dormant and stuff. Mrs. Heartbroom, played by Kate, not sure how to say her last name, Douchey or something like that, or Douchey, or I'm not really sure. But like, this woman was just awesome on the show. She's your Professor Snape, wears all black, wears her hair in this kind of twisted bun type thing. And like, she's a stickler to that of the rules. She specializes in potions, and she's all about tradition. She hates electronics. She hates when they try to redo the school, and she's all about the old ways of witchcraft, believing those are the truest form to witchery than all this high-tech new stuff and everything. She cannot stand Mildred Hubble, and she loves Ethel Hollow because, you know, she kisses up to her and stuff. She is so rude to Mildred. You honest to God think she hates her guts and everything. She is so stern to all the girls. She won't let them slack off, not even like for a second. She zapped off the headphones of Ruby, and every time the girls just do one little thing wrong, she's always there to correct them. And every time something bad happens, she always blames Mildred and everything, even when Mildred clearly did not do it and stuff. But that's just how she is and everything. She can't stand the idea of boys wanting to go to school or even appearing at the school, but she has a lot of respect for the head wizard guy and stuff. She also respects and admires Mrs. Cakle. And I think she was like a student when she went there and stuff. And it's just, there's a reason why they call her Heartbroom. She's like very hard and strict and everything. However, in one very touching episode, when Ethel's father wanted to redo the entire school and add on a bunch of new stuff and electronics and stuff, she realized her time there was over because, you know, she literally says that, you know, she just can't adapt to a new way of life and everything. So she was going to resign. And when Mildred found her down in like the basement or dungeon or whatever, they had a heart-to-heart conversation where Mildred literally asked, like, why do you hate me so much? And why you're always so mean to me? And like all this other stuff. And it's the second time in the series we actually see her be nice to Mildred. When Mildred saved her life on that boat, she thanked her and everything. But here she goes one step further. She looks at her with caring eyes and is all like, she doesn't hate her. She just wants her to do like better. And like, she doesn't even realize this. She yells a lot because yelling is like second nature to her and stuff. And the thing is, like, I do like seeing this softer side of her because it gave her the much like character development her character needed to be more human and sympathetic and everything. Because a lot of people who are mean and strict to people, it's not that they hate them, it's just they always want them to do better and they hate screw ups and stuff. Now, like I said before, she does get recast in the new Worst Witch. The new actress doesn't really look like her, but she does act like her. Now, the one interesting thing about Miss Heartbroom is that everybody on the show pretty much like wears the same outfit. Miss Drill wears the same thing in season 1, but by season 2 she changes it up. So does Mrs. Cackle at times. Miss Bat is the only person who wears the exact same outfit, but Miss Heartbroom actually has a variety of outfits. She has, like, she wears all black no matter what, And she has a leather outfit, a cotton outfit that's all black. Then she has like a kind of this polyester silk type outfit that are two different ones that have flowers on it. One is like blue flowers and the other one is like red flowers. And you never see her really out of like, wearing black. Even when she goes to the beach, she's all covered up wearing black and barely like shows any part of her skin. Like she showed her feet and a little bit of ankle, and the girls are very shocked. They're all like, "Oh my God, she has legs, she has hair," because she let her hair down and stuff. Like they're really shocked to see that side of her because she doesn't let nobody see it. She hates taking vacations and stuff. She didn't like the Boy Scouts. She doesn't like when a man tries to like throw his weight around and show that he is the higher power, because she feels witches are better than that of like wizards and stuff, because they can do more with their powers as opposed to that of a wizard, because most of the time a wizard can just like transform themselves into another object or animal. They can do a little bit other magical stuff, but not much. Whereas witches can pretty much just conjure up anything that they want to with their minds and stuff. So this is a really fun, cute, little pleasant show, you know what I'm saying? Like, keep in mind, this is back in the like this is over 20 years ago. So it's gonna look, feel, and sound different than what you're used to today, you know what I'm saying? Like it has a completely different vibe to it and everything, but it's so pleasant and cozy, you know what I'm saying? You can just sit back and, just kind of like enjoy yourself for like a couple of episodes and stuff like that. It's on streaming, it's on DVD. And, I really wish it would get like the movie treatment. And I wish the 2017 series would come out on DVD, but you know how Netflix is. I might talk about the 2017 series. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to rewatch it. And since it's 4 seasons, and I forget how many episodes, probably 10 to 12 or 13. Even though they're 20 minutes, it'll take a while, but like I'm watching other stuff. So yeah. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right. Well, I'll talk to you later. Bye.